In this video, we'll be going over how to create this patio table. This one's a little bit of a doozy. We've got some advanced extrude and hole creation options. We've got the fillet tool, which is a great way to round corners. And we've got the sweep tool, which we're going to use to create the legs and leg support you can see on this table. This one may take a little while, so don't be afraid that it might take you a little bit to get it done. Also, don't forget that the whole idea of doing this via video is so that the videos can be paused, played, replayed, rewound, and all that sort of stuff to make sure you get all the skills that you need to in order to complete projects like this, to learn the skills to create future projects of your own design. Okay, to start out with, we're going to go ahead and start with a new document, and we're going to go ahead and drop down our origin area, and we're going to take a look at use our view cube to look at our ISO view so we see the front, the top, and the right side. This time we're going to start on the top plane, which is the XZ plane. So that's going to be where we're going to start our sketch. Okay. Now I am going to rotate my view. That way I have top and I have the front at the bottom of it so that I know where I'm at. So I'm going to rotate it so I can read top upright, and then I'm going to start with a center rectangle. So 2-point center rectangle. My first point is in the dead center because I will be lining other stuff up with the center as well. Now we're going to go ahead and zoom out some because the width of our table is 48 inches or 4 feet. I'm going to tab over, and the height is going to be 72 inches, which is 6 feet. So that will create our 4x6 patio table top. The tabletop is what we're starting with. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to use our sketch fillet. So fillet is just a simple way to round corners. So we're going to use our sketch fillet tool. We're going to set it to 4 inches. And we're going to add a sketch fillet. It doesn't like that, so let me do that differently. We're going to add the two lines that surround each corner. And we're just going to kind of go around in a circle. The nice part is it dimensions it once for us, and that way the rest of them are good to go. So we're going to accept that as the completion of our fillet tool. And we're going to go ahead and also finish our sketch. Again, it kind of zooms out. I don't know why it picks the scale it zooms to, but it does. We're going to go ahead and extrude in an upward direction. Instead of being 1 inch, we're going to do 3/4 of an inch, which you can do as 3/4 or 0.75. Either way, that is our 3/4 inch tabletop. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to switch to our XZ plane, which runs through the right, which would also be called the right plane because it runs through the right hand side of that. So I am going to start a 2D sketch there. And the next tool I'm going to use is I am going to go back to rectangle, but I'm going to go back to a standard 2-point rectangle. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, kind of more to the left side of my screen. And I am going to draw a rectangle starting on the edge. Sorry, it was flashing, so I thought that was on the edge, but it is not. So I'm going to hit escape and try again. So we're going to go down to the edge. There we go. And this time, the height of it is 0.75 or 3/4, either way. And the width of it is 3 inches. Now we're going to get our dimension tool because we're not quite fully defined. And we are going to add a dimension from this corner or the line to the middle. So I can get the midpoint there. So I'm going to add this dimension, and that dimension is 24 inches. So we'll move it in just a little bit. Now what we're going to do is we are going to use this to create the support where the legs attach, and we're going to turn this into a slatted table, so those slats would need to mount to something as well. That's the part we're creating right now. And for this, we're going to go ahead and click extrude with it selected. The distance is going to be set. I don't know why it makes the fractions look weird like that, but it does, to 46 inches. So instead of 48, I'm going to go back and fix that. By the way, if you make a mistake, you can always right click on it and hit Edit Feature to go back to your settings. 46, we'll put it just shy about an inch in from either side of the table. You can see mine sticking out because it extruded only in one way. This is one of those times where we actually want it to go in both directions equally, or what they call a symmetric extrude. In SolidWorks, this is called a mid-plane extrude. So as you can see, it's going about an inch in from either side, which is exactly what we want. So now I can hit OK, and as you can see, the change has been made. So I have my support underneath. And we're going to work on just one side because one of the other tools that I'm going to show you that wasn't listed in the title of the video is Mirror. And Mirror is a great tool to use when you've got assemblies or groups of features that are the same on both sides. So we'll get to that. So you don't need to create another one of these we're on the front side of the table here. You don't need to create another one on the rear side of the table. So what we are going to do, though, is we do need a surface to draw the profile of the table leg on. And to do that, we are going to come over to Work Features and click the Plane tool. Now, even though it doesn't necessarily prompt for things, what it's looking for is two references or more to use to define this plane. And you'll know that it defined it because the tool will shut off and the plane will appear, and it will also appear in your file tree. It did take me a couple tries to remind myself how I did this the first time I designed this table, so don't worry about it if my numbers don't match your numbers. So the first thing I'm going to click is I'm going to click one side of the support, and I clicked the wrong side, so we'll undo that, and we'll click this one. And it made me a plane that I don't want, so I'm going to go ahead and try that again. So Plane tool, side of the support. I am then going to rotate. I can grab my tool here. I'll rotate this around. And I'm going to click the other side. I'm going to be real careful and go ahead and zoom in the other face of the plane, which created a plane for me that is in the exact center of that support, defined by the support. So the nice part about doing it this way is if I ever chose to move the leg assembly in or out, I could just change where the where this table support was created, and the legs would move with it. So that's a real nice feature. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click this work plane. And again, if your number is different, if you did it right the first time, you won't have a problem. So you can just go ahead and click that and start your 2D sketch. I first am going to draw a center line because I want to space this off of the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a line tool. I'm going to get on this line and I'm going to slide over till I find the defined midpoint, which should be right in the middle somewhere. Let's see. There we go. I knew it was there because it said the 23 inches, and I am going to draw this down. The overall height of my leg from point to point, which is 28 inches at 90 degrees, which is perfect. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and click the line, and I'm going to change it to be a construction line. So it is dotted. That is perfect. All right. Now we're going to be kind of back and forth with some tools here as we draw this profile. So we're going to be switching between line and tangent arc. So we're going to go ahead and grab our line tool. I'm going to start straight below this edge. Draw this over. Make sure you're going horizontal. And we want that to be 9 inches. I'm now going to switch to my tangent arc. Click my line here and just kind of draw a tangent arc. I'm going to get close to 90 degrees. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to go ahead and start my line. I'm going to click on the end of that. This does need to be perfect, so we do want it to be straight vertical because we're going to use it to define our arc there. But this needs to be a 12-inch line. And next, we're going to switch to our tangent arc. click that same line, come around again, 90-ish is fine. We're going to get our line, and we are going to get on the end of it, and we are going to come out, make sure we're horizontal, 7 inches. Now we're going to apply a few different constraints to our thing here. So just to be clear, when you click on the arc right now, it's only tangent at the top. We want it tangent at the bottom as well. This one, again, it's tangent where it started, but not where it ended. It's probably a better way to say that. So I'm going to start my tangent option, and I'm going to go from arc to line to add that tangent at the end. And again, down here, arc to line to add tangent at the end. Once that is done, I'm going to go ahead and click my vertical one. I want to put a vertical line between the end of the support and the start of the profile. I am also going to grab a horizontal and put the end of my construction line horizontal to one of the endpoints of this lower 7-inch line as well. With that, I am going to dimension from the center line over and set that at 6 inches. And it's going to tell me one dimension needed. So the information it needs to know is the measurement of the arcs. As you can see, they're slightly different right now. So I'm going to fix that with a constraint, an equal constraint, where I'm going to click both arcs, and that's going to set their radius to being equal. Now I am missing something, and it was an incorrect measurement on my part. So in order to fix a measurement, you can, let me get out of the constraint. If you double click on it, this was not supposed to be 28 inches. This was supposed to be 28.5. So lucky for us, we found out how you go back and correct a measurement. So with that, that should leave us this profile fully constrained in what I'm going to call the easiest way possible. There would have been some measurements we could have added that would have done the same thing. However, this is the easiest way possible. Now, I'm going to go ahead and finish that. I am going to add another work plane because I have to be able to draw 90 degrees or perpendicular to this line at the very end of it. So when I click my plane, I'm going to click two things. I'm going to click this line, and I'm going to click the point there. And it added a work plane for me that is perpendicular to the line at the end of it, which is perfect and exactly what I want. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start a 2D sketch again on that plane. Which I'm going to zoom in on. So sketch 6 is on that plane. I'm going to go ahead and grab my tool, and we are going to go on the very end of this line and draw a 1-inch circle, which should be fully constrained just by itself because, again, I created it right on there. We're just going to angle this and make sure, yeah, the center point should be on the center point of the circle. So that is good to go there. We'll go ahead and finish that. And we're now going to use a tool called Sweep. And what Sweep does is it takes a profile and moves it along a path, just like it shows you when you hover over it. So when I go Sweep, the first profile, it already selected because I had just drawn that sketch. Now, when I select curve or edge, I should be able to rotate my view and pick this path right here. And you should get kind of like a green preview of it. We do want to make sure it's adding because that way we know it's touching up at the top there. And it's got 5 curves. I really don't need to worry about taper or twist or any of that sort of stuff, but it's going to add the leg as I need it. So now my table leg is there. It is this nice, really cool leg, and there's a ton of stuff you can do with the Sweep tool. So I'm going to take a quick peek just so I know. I want to figure out which plane it is that runs kind of front to back. It's the same plane I drew the uh, the profile for the support on, which is this plane right here, which is my YZ plane. And again, that's important to know. So I'm going to have my sweep tool highlighted, and the feature that I want is mirror, and it's over here in the pattern section. So I'm going to mirror, and I can actually then pick, because I already have features chosen, it's now asking me to pick the mirror plane. So I am going to pick I even forgot which plane it was supposed to be, the YZ plane. And then I'm going to click OK. And now I've got those two on that correct plane. The next thing I'm going to do is I am going to highlight a few different things. I am going to highlight extrusion 2. I'm going to hold control and highlight sweep 1 and mirror 1 to highlight all of those things. I'm now going to, just to know, my XY plane is the one that is in the center from front to back. So XY is my mirror plane that I'm going to want to use. So I'm going to select those three things. Again, I'm going to click mirror, and my mirror plane is my XY plane. So it shows me kind of a rough idea of what I'm going to get. And I'm going to click OK. And now I have, with a couple of quick mirrors, created the majority of my table here. So I've got now the supports on both ends and all four legs created. And again, the nice part, if I want to make a change, I can go back to one or two sketches and the whole table can change. So that's a great thing there. Um, Before I do the things to kind of finish the tabletop, we are going to fillet all of the edges of this tabletop. As you can see, once we kind of divide it up into slats, that would be real hard to do. Well, it wouldn't be hard to do, it'd be a lot of extra work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click the fillet tool, and the radius we're going to set is going to be 0.25. And now I can start selecting things. So I should be able to select the top edge and the bottom edge of my table. And when I accept that, you'll now see that my edges are all rounded. Even when I divide that up into slats, my edges will all be perfectly good to go. Now, in the next step of this, we're going to go ahead and, as I've talked about, divide it into slats. So to give it that patio table look. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this surface, and I am going to start a 2D sketch. Again, just for the sake of doing stuff similarly, I'm going to rotate this up and down. I'm going to take my rectangle tool, and I'm going to draw a rectangle kind of approximately in the right spot, but I'm going to come back and dimension everything anyway. So I'm going to kind of just draw it around where the arc, that 4-inch arc, meets the end. So I'm going to go ahead and dimension this because I do know the sizes. And the dimension is going to be 73 inches long, so it overhangs. Oh, that's the wrong dimension there. This gap is going to be a 1/4-inch gap, so we're going to call this 0.25 down there. And when I hit tab, I can get 73. So that is that, and all I need to do is add a couple of dimensions up here. So I'm going to zoom in from and grab my dimension tool. From the top edge, either point or line, to this line, I want a vertical dimension of 0.5. Since I made this an inch longer than I need, now part of it sticks out on both sides, just to make sure we're good to go. Excuse me, my next dimension is going to be from the far line to either this point or that edge. And this dimension is going to be half of our 1/4 inch dimension, so 0.125, which puts it centered right where that goes. Now, as you can see, I've got it, and it goes all the way down and across and will give me a complete cut through. This is, again, one of those things where I'm going to do this once and then have the software do the rest for me. So once I'm done with that, I'm going to go ahead and click Finish. With the sketch still active and selected, I'm going to click Extrude. Now, I've got some changes to make because the first thing I'm going to do is this is not going to be adding material. I am removing material. I'm making a cut. So down here where it says output, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change to cut. So now it starts to go downward, and it wants to go downward kind of for the whole distance. The last time I did an extrude, it was a 46-inch extrude. So it's now wanting to do that. Now, instead of giving this a definition, I'm actually going to click 2, which the 2 selector now lets me rotate this. And since I drew it on the top and I don't want it to cut through my supports, I'm going to move around to the bottom side, and I'm going to say to this surface. So it's going to cut down. And if I swing back around to the top, I can kind of zoom in. You can see it's going to cut down through this part of the table, but not into the support. And at that point, everything's fully defined. So we're going to go ahead and click OK. And you can see I've separated my first slat. Now with this extrusion 3, unfortunately it doesn't call it extrude cut like some other softwares do, but we'll just we'll move on with that. So my next thing is I'm going to create a rectangular pattern. Now rectangular just means in a line. It doesn't mean you have to necessarily make copies in 2 directions. So I'm only going to use the direction 1 settings. So my direction 1 is going to be across the table in the short direction. So I'm going to go ahead and pick any of the lines here. Doesn't matter which edge I pick. It's going to go in that direction. The next things I have to set are how many of them are we going to create. I've already done the math for you. So you're going to create 11 of these. And I know that the spacing is going to be 4 inches, which is going to create them all the way across so that they are all equal. We're going to go ahead and click OK. And as you can see, it's going to cut all of our slats for us. Our next thing that we're going to do is I am going to click on the tabletop. It doesn't actually matter if you click the perfectly right surface because all you're doing is defining a surface in space. So I'm going to click there and I'm going to start a sketch. As you can see, I have my normal origins, which are right in the center of a cut. I'm going to grab my circle tool. I'm going to put the center of the circle right here, and I'm going to make a 3-inch circle. It is a fully defined 3-inch circle, which is perfect, which I am going to accept. And then I am going to extrude. I am going to change it to be a cut. And again, I can type in a distance. I can type in a selection. It doesn't matter. There's nothing below this. There's not going to be something below this. So I'm just going to leave it at the stock settings, which cuts what we would normally refer to as the umbrella hole in our table. So the last thing that we're going to add is the leg support. So this is to get us working with the plane tool a little bit more because sometimes we need to create planes in different ways. So there is a drop down on plane, and it usually likes to just, if it's a simple plane, if it's something that's like in the middle of 2 surfaces or something like that, really don't need to delve into all the stuff underneath. But when you drop this down, you've got a lot of great options here that might give you what you want. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and use the offset from plane plane creation tool. So we're going to click offset from plane. The first plane that we're going to create, or we're going to click, is the XZ plane. Okay, so that's the XZ plane. That's the one we started off. That's the one that faces the top of it. So when I click that, it gives me the opportunity to set a distance. Now, it always wants to go up, okay? And if you bring it down, you'll see that your numbers have a negative sign on it. So the measurement we want to use is negative 14.75, which seems pretty random, but kind of puts it in this area, kind of in the middle-ish of the legs. And so that's where we're going to create our plane. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And as you can see, it creates our plane. And now that is a surface we can draw on. So with that plane selected, I'm going to go ahead and hit Start 2D Sketch. Now, I want to look at it from the bottom so that I have the reference of where the legs are, which is a great thing to have. I'm going to go ahead and grab myself a center rectangle. I'm going to put that in the middle, and I'm going to bring it out onto that surface. Okay, and I'm going to do that through clicking so that I can add some relationships. As you can see, I came kind of up just shy of this. I hope I didn't accidentally put it. Oh, I did. All right, so as you can see, part of that is defined, and I didn't want it defined, so I'm going to undo it, and I'm going to do it again. And this time, I'm going to zoom in a bit so that I make sure I am not putting it right on that edge. So I'm going to put it on the lower side of that edge. And as you can see, now all my lines are blue. I am going to add a tangent relationship between this line and the circular part of that, which gives me this. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit my dimension tool, and I'm going to dimension this length at 12 inches, which puts it kind of touching the thing, which is fine. The next thing I'm going to do, just like I did when I built the tabletop, is I'm going to use the Sketch Fillet tool to round all the corners. So when I do that, I am going to round them at 1¼ of an inch. So I'm going to go ahead and click the Fillet tool, set this at 1.25. And if you hit enter, like I just did, because you're used to SolidWorks, it gets out of the tool. So just 1.25, and then I click my 2 lines up here and my 2 lines over here. To get this end, I'm going to zoom out, zoom in down here, and again, we're going to go line, line, and line, and line to get all the way around. So this is the profile. We're going to use sweep again. So that is the profile of what I needed to create. So I'm done with my fillet tool, and I am done with this sketch. Okay, so we can see it on there. Now I have a plane that already crosses it, so I don't have to create. I'm going to go ahead and click on my XY plane and start my sketch. Now I'm going to angle my drawing just a little bit so you can see what's going on. But as you'll notice, when I get my circle tool, there's nothing on here I can click to make sure the center of my circle ends up on this line. There's no reference. So I'm going to hit escape real quick, and I'm going to use project geometry. So what I'm going to do is when I click project geometry, I'm going to find an endpoint here along this line. And what you should see now, after you do it, and I'll get out of the tool with escape, is when I zoom in, there's like a little yellow crosshair right there. And I've just projected that point onto my current drawing plane. So when I grab my circle tool, I'll be able to now go find that point right there where it locks onto it and draw a 1-inch circle. Okay, and as you can see, it turned black. It is fully constrained because it is on that projected point. There's some other softwares like SolidWorks where that process is a little easier. The line would already exist. I could use a Pierce relation. There's other ways to do it. But this is the simplest way in this software. So now that I have both my path and my profile, I can go ahead and switch over to 3D model. Finish my sketch and pick sweep. So select profiles is in my case, it's sketch 12 because I had to try a couple things. And that is this. It's not wanting to select stuff. So let me try that again. Make sure I'm out of everything. Go back over to sketch. Yes, that is closed. 3D model. We're going to try sweep again. Select profiles. Yep, this time it lets me select it. I'm not real sure what was going on. So profile is the round one. And then path is select curve or edge. Yep. There it goes. Again, I don't know why it wasn't liking that, but I did select it. One of the things you'll notice is it does kind of like blend into the leg, which is good. That's kind of creating our attachment point. Once it's done that, again, we're going to add it. We're going to hit OK. And now we've got our table leg surface. And this is our table completely done. I know it's been a long tutorial, but this is it all the way done. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to go to my materials and go to iron cast as the material, and it should already put iron gray as the appearance. The beautiful part about that is when you go to the information on this, it should already be there. Don't forget when you go to your iProperties to take your image with the project tab open, and then make sure to move this so we can see everything, and then go ahead and take your screenshot, turn it in, go ahead and go to the physical part of it, and give us the mass. Good job.